Hello, TIs. I want to talk about the Central Intelligence Agency's school fetish. Now, I realized around 2003 that I was being targeted by the Central Intelligence Agency because of a case going back to 1996. It's a cold case involving a U.S. Air Force pilot. I passed a polygraph test. I volunteered to take it through the local sheriff's department, which was conducting that investigation. Later, even into the mid 2000s and afterwards, confrontations with the U.S. Air Force, members of it, were common. I started getting harassed by Citizens Corps, Northern Command, when I was in Texas. So if you're a TI and you're experiencing harassment in U.S. schools, even one time, I would encourage you not to go back to another U.S. school, because I have a video. I'm going to place a link underneath this video, and it's going to show you guys all the schools that I've left. Now, anyone that's enrolled into a college knows you have to typically take tests to enroll. You can be there hours long, a half a day taking tests, so that way you can get into the school. And you have paperwork. It's a process. It's time consuming. So anyone that's trying to go to numerous schools across the United States is not a terror threat. People that are going to schools are trying to go in there to improve their lives. But the interesting thing is that I have ran into encounters with the Central Intelligence Agency. So these encounters at U.S. schools started with radical feminists, people that didn't wear a bra, that were going into class. And the teachers would clearly tell these people, look, you have to wear a bra. I'd have encounters with these people bypassing security checkpoints in highly secure facilities, like this one place that I would go get counseling at. And they would come in with a lanyard, but they were a classmate. Another classmate worked for Minuteman. They seemed like a respectable group, but this guy would actually bypass the security and go in there and park in front of my house. And I asked him, what are you doing this for? He says, look, I get contracts. So I've been targeted by a variety of interagency partners, and I can tell you through the 20s, I dealt with Fema and its Citizens Corps programs, firemen. It was absolutely insane. For the past year, my targeting has toned down quite a bit, but I'm still targeted. I still get harassed. Even if you get harassed 2 or 3 times a week, that's still quite a bit. But in Texas, it was all throughout the day. And what the Central Intelligence Agency does is they like to go into schools and they may confront you. And then when you go into that class, you may have weird encounters. Someone may whistle nonstop in your face, or anytime you answer a question, they whistle one time. You get back to your car, there's a guy with a Citizens on Patrol vehicle there. You're being confronted by people acting like active shooters, like people in the army. I don't know if they get these guys from our streets or they're retards they're using. And I'm not calling the army retards, but the people I was dealing with, they were really stupid, like real stupid. So they would go into the class and start talking about crazy stuff, about doing something in Oklahoma and going boom, and talking about car bombings. One guy talked about it towards me, and I left the class. I'm like, I don't want to be around this garbage. So I go to another school, the same crap. Guy that's in reserves. And the teachers ask this guy, what is your deal? He would even go behind my back and say that I threatened him during class, and all the students were like, you're lying. The guy hasn't even looked at you. You've been trying to slander this guy since the first hour he came in here. The students were saying this. And it was school by school, Mobile, Alabama, Florida, New Mexico, Texas, same crap through my 20s to my 40s. So what was really interesting there, I went to LA and I went to visit a relative. So I go back to Florida and I enroll into a school in Mobile, Alabama called Bishop State University. And guess who enrolls? This guy from LA. I told him I just was there a few days ago. And I told him, why would you want to come to school in Mobile, Alabama when you got to pay an out-of-pocket tuition fee of $9,000 when it's like $1,200 over there? And he said, I can get it less. He said he can get it for like $700 because he was a veteran. So you got to pay $9,000. Do you want to live here? He's like, no. So what was really interesting, another guy in the Army, he worked at some place doing welding in Mobile, Alabama, signed up too. He already had CDL training in the Army. Teacher's like, why are you even here? So you just could have came for a one-day pass and passed this. Says, you passed the test the first hour you were here. Why are you staying for 3 months? So him and this other guy from LA would click all together, and he would tell the guy not to get in the car with me. And because this guy had a junky car, he drove from California to Mobile, Alabama, and I was going to help him out and buy him a new battery. So coming to find out, my teacher told me, he says, these 2 students in the class, they got an Army background. He says, I don't think they're here for education. He says, this guy has been slandering you nonstop. And we can't figure it out because you're bringing in a homeless veteran. I would take a homeless veteran to that school every day until he could get on his feet and get a job. Now he has a place and goes to work. I wanted to help him out because he'd been homeless since he left Nam. And he asked me if I can give him rides. So I pick him up every day. I leave my apartment. I drive about a mile, pick him up. He couldn't stay with me. I was going to try to see if he could stay with me, but my apartment manager said he couldn't. So I helped him out until he can finish the class and get on his feet. And the teacher told me he respected me due to that. And he couldn't figure out why anyone would harass me. Because every day I brought like a thing of Gatorade, 7-Up, something. You know, a couple of them, 2 liters. All was cool classmates. Never had an issue with no one. He says, it's always people in the Army. What's going on? I told him I've been going through this state by state. So some of the people that were harassing me in school later on, I started finding out they have security backgrounds. And they're always like radical feminists. This is going on since my 20s to my 40s. So the CI, this one guy came in a SUV, confronted me. Hold on 1 second. So it made me think, why would the Central Intelligence Agency harassed me in multiple states, at multiple schools, half my life, and for what are their intentions? What are they trying to promote? I mean, think about it. So I'm going to place a link underneath this video, and it's going to show you guys just some of the schools that I've gone to. Why would they go into a U.S. school to harass Americans leaving states to improve their lives? Are they a terrorism threat? I believe they are. Good afternoon, fellow TIs. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it, but to the right is a school. It's a community college where there is a public library that I used to go to sometimes 2 or 3 times a week just to get out of the house. And I would work on a course to be a victims' rights advocate. And for those that don't know what a victims' rights advocate is, it's someone that pretty much knows all the rules and regulations, benefits that a person can get if they've been like battered, stalked, and harassed. Now, I'm going to share with you guys a method that may be really good because police aren't going to help you with this. You're going to want to work with a private investigator. And this is how I busted the Central Intelligence Agency stalking and harassing me at a school. So if you've dealt with groups like the Central Intelligence Agency, you already know by now they have a fetish with schools. I don't know what their deal is. So what I like to do is I like to try to find an area in a parking lot where there's not a lot of cars. Hold on 1 second, I got something going on here. Okay, my phone was messing up. So find an area where there's no one around and park there. And if you notice someone parks next to you, and let's say you're on your phone and they mimic you, well, chances are you are being followed. So I started noticing some really odd activity, and I had to go to security more than one time. And I've shared a video about this. One day I'm gonna get closer so you guys can see. Bear with me 1 moment, I gotta reverse. So one day I noticed something really odd, that the same guy kept showing up anytime I showed up. Let's say I would come around on a Wednesday at 3:35. The same guy showed up. Let's say I decided next Wednesday I wouldn't come. I come on a Monday at 1:30. He showed up and he left when I left. You want to look for stuff like that. Now I want to share something with you on what they were doing to me. So here's the front entrance. I used to park right over here, and there's the front door right there. And the exact moment I would exit the front door of this place, there's a bench over there, this person would stand up and go, shh. This lady from the U.S. Army would walk out, and then I'd be up there for an hour. For a whole entire hour upstairs. And sometimes I'd park my car and I would see a man wearing a suit parked next to my vehicle. This went on for like 2 years. He was always parked next to my vehicle with an elderly woman in a different car. So when I would leave here, I would go to the gas station, get gas sometimes, buy a cup of coffee, a lotto ticket, and head home. And this guy would be there, and the exact second I would walk in there, he would go, shh. And then the cashier would walk up to me, get behind the booth, and go, shh. It's really weird. So down the road from here, I go up this road and take a right. There's a vape shop and a 7-Eleven gas station, and I used to vape. Now I'm chewing nicotine gum. And the same sheriffs from Tampa would show up. And these ladies wearing blue uniforms with people wearing suits. So the Central Intelligence, I'll make a long story short, the Central Intelligence Agency has a remote nursing division. And for those that heard about the stuff going on in Tampa about Chris Narocco, the sheriff terrorizing families, this happened because the CIA and DNI were supporting it. Now, down over here is a light. One moment, I'm going to zoom in. There's a light right over there. Right when I'm making this video, my camera's tripping on me, like the color, so I'm adjusting the settings on it. So I would typically go to this gas station. It's over here to the left at this light. So if I was to pass this light or go on that to take a left, there's a 7-Eleven right there. And then there, right across the street, there is a vape shop and a Subway. So the people that were following me, they weren't there to get no sandwiches. They would just surround my vehicle, and they all had this Florida Sheriff's Association sticker on their car. One guy had like 25 of them. It was ridiculous, like lines of them. And people would walk up to me, whistle in my face, and suddenly leave. So the people that were doing this, some of them were tracked down to an area. So I started doing searches online, and guess what came up? CIA contractor. There's even a CIA maid service in Winter Garden, Florida, 1 block away from a dark web monitoring service. And I mentioned this in a prior video. The CIA maid service is owned by one individual, and it's registered as a foreign company in the U.S. So the only people I know that do stuff like that are people that work for the CIA. I dealt with the Central Intelligence Agency a long time ago at another area of Florida. They had the CIA logo, and they worked on a base, and they utilized the InfraGard program. I had to flee to Albuquerque, New Mexico over it. If you hire a private investigator and you want to tell him, look, once you arrive, minutes later they arrived, they parked next to you, they may have showed up at multiple places where you were at, and you want that person to get their tags, their VIN numbers when no one's looking. And if it's too much, you may want him to approach these people. A lot of private investigators are retired law enforcement officers. So some of these guys may even do a citizen's arrest or may have contacts with local police, and they're going to help you more if you have a private investigator on your side that's ex-law enforcement. You go by yourself, they're not going to take your word. The FBI and CIA, they're trusted by local police and sheriff's associations. Who do you think pays them? DHS gives them extra money. You know the county pays them. You're a county prosecutor, they're not going to help you. If they were going to help me, I would have been helped a long time ago. Because I've been going to county attorneys and other states, state governor's office, state attorney's office. They're not going to help you. Anyways, God bless. Peace.